What did I say was going to happen? What did I say? Kansas City, your time is done. Thank goodness. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my Super Bowl 59 review. Man, is it good to be an NFL fan. I might have time for another NFL team tier ranking after this, but overall I'm just going to go over everything that happened in the Super Bowl. I'm just going to be going over everything. I'm going to be looking at the stats, going to be looking at the halftime show. I'm going to give you my personal thoughts on the halftime show and everything, and yeah, we're just going to go from there. Okay, here we are at the good old NFL standings. At least that's where I get mine. We're going to start with the Chiefs, and there's not much to talk about here. Our defense just completely destroyed you the entire game. We locked you guys down. Mahomes just wasn't able to do anything. Like, he could not do anything. I mean, he had a couple chump plays at the end where we weren't even trying. We had our backups in. Just like two catastrophically terrible picks, terrible turnovers. He got sacked 6 times. That's insane. They couldn't run the ball worth the crap. And yeah, Xavier Worthy. I mean, Xavier Worthy's good. He's going to be a star. 8 receptions for 157 yards. But there's just not much to talk about. Your offensive line was abysmal. Your defense was abysmal and everything. It's just, there's not much to talk about. Going over to the Eagles, Jalen Hurts played absolute lights out. My Super Bowl MVP. My MVP. And for anyone who's still doubting Jalen Hurts, for anyone who still thinks he's not a good quarterback, like, what games have you been watching at this point? Like, he only incompleted 5 throws the entire game. Sure, he had one ugly pick, but that was when he got hit. He also ran for one, had 72 yards on the ground. That's more than he did the last time he was in the Super Bowl. Looking at receiving now, it was really led by Saquon with the receptions. He had 6 receptions. A.J. Brown had 3 for 43 and a touchdown. Devontae Smith had 4 for 69 and a touchdown. I mean, it's just no one put up crazy numbers. It's just, it was so spread out that it was just insane. But the defense, shout out to Cooper DeJean. That's my GOAT right there. Let's see. Jordan Davis had a sack. Josh Sweat had 2. Milton Williams had 2. I'm pretty sure Josh Sweat had 2.5. It's not really correct. Zach Bond, obviously, what an addition Zach Bond was this year. Hopefully we re-sign him. Cooper DeJean, obviously, had the pick 6. And then, Jake Elliott just, he went from 2024 Elliott last game to 2023 Elliott this game. Overall, we did the league a favor here. Saquon, Jalen, Nick, Fangio, Moore, everybody. We did the league a favor. We prevented the three-peat, and we pretty much just exposed what the Chiefs are when they go against real competition. The Chiefs, they went up against the real test, and they got exposed. Also, in terms of the other thing that we were going to do today, we're also going to do a good old-fashioned end-of-the-season NFL team tier ranking. So, stay tuned for that. Alright, here we are at the tier list, and we're going to start off by naming the tiers. Obviously, the Eagles are going to go in Super Bowl champions, so we're not really going to rank them. But at the top tier, we got teams that are elite. The next tier, we got teams that are good. Now, in the middle, we have teams that are mid. Below that, not very good teams. And then next, we have the teams that are, well, ass. And we're going to start off with the Cardinals, and they are the definition of mid. Kyler Murray is the definition of mid. Just 8-9, just below 500. And, I mean, as much as I like Marvin Harrison Jr., he was super disappointing this year. I'm sorry, they may sound out of pocket, but he just was not as good as these other receivers. He wasn't as good as McConkey. He wasn't as good as Neighbors. He wasn't as good as Rome Odunze. He wasn't as good as Brian Thomas Jr. Definitely not as good as him. As much as I do hate to say it, Jonathan Gannon is not a good coach. I'm sorry. He's just not. Kyler Murray, again, like, just looks extremely average. Just the main word for this team is average. Moving on, we got the Falcons. I'm sorry, Falcon fans, they're not really that good. I mean, every time they got put up against a real test, they got the absolute snot beat out of them. I mean, they gave up 40 points to the Panthers. Like, what? Kirk Cousins was an extreme flop. Drake London, I will say, though, you guys have some talent. Jesse Bates, Bijan, Drake London, AJ Terrell. You guys have some serious talent, and Michael Penix is looking pretty promising. It's just that, like, you guys have got to get a defense. I mean, come on. Now moving on, we have the Ravens. Obviously, they're an elite team. They were one of the best rushing teams in the NFL. I mean, they had an MVP candidate quarterback. They had an MVP candidate running back. They just had, passing defense, abysmal, but running defense was the #1 in the league. And Zay Flowers was looking like a real #1 receiver. It's just that if Mark Andrews hadn't dropped that ball, then I don't know. I don't know if the game would have gone different. But just Ravens fans, please stop crying about Lamar Jackson. Please, for the love of God. He shouldn't have won MVP. Josh Allen should have won MVP, and that will bring me to the Bills. Well, they're also elite. Josh Allen played like an MVP candidate the entire year. So it's funny to see that Ravens fans, like last year they said stats don't matter when Josh Allen had better numbers. Matter of fact, I kind of think Josh Allen should have won it last year. And then this year, all of a sudden, stats matter. I mean, the Ravens would be fine without Lamar Jackson. Without Josh Allen on the Bills, like, they wouldn't go anywhere. And I don't know if that's out of pocket to say, but I just feel like Josh Allen really deserved that award way more than Lamar. I mean, come on. All right, now we got the Panthers ass. I'm sorry. Bryce Young is playing a lot better. It's just they just have the worst defense in the league, and it's just they're an abysmal team. As much as I don't want to admit it, you guys have some problems you need to fix this offseason. Like, for starters, getting an edge rusher and getting some receivers to help out Bryce. Dave Canales, though, I like you. You're not a bad coach. Bryce Young, I like you. You're not a bad quarterback. It's just they need to get some surrounding casts around this guy. Now, moving on, we have the Bears, ass. I'm sorry. I'm so sick of the Bears hyping me up every single season. Like, I know you guys saw my record prediction. I had them going 10-7. They went 5-12. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? Like, they had the worst offense in football. But Caleb Williams, though. Caleb Williams is actually looking really good. I just think the Bears overall dumpster fire. No wonder why they haven't won a championship since 1985. And I don't know, man. I don't know about the Bears. Right, now moving on to the Bengals. It's maybe out of pocket, but they're a good team. I mean, if they just had anything of a defense, if I just picked up like a couple of my friends and we all formed a defense, we would have allowed less points than the Bengals defense, because this Bengals defense was abysmal this year. But their offense was elite, and I have no problem saying it. If Joe Burrow had made the playoffs, he would have been the undisputed candidate for MVP, and there's no dispute about that. Now, moving on, we got the Browns. They're ass. They are terrible. I'm sorry. I like the Browns. I like their underdog. I like their underdog style, but like they just don't have an offense. Like they have nobody on offense. Like no Nick Chubb. You guys have a problem. No quarterback, no receivers. I mean, Jerry Judy had himself a year, but just they literally have nobody on offense. No O-line, no nothing. They're gonna trade Myles Garrett and everything. It's just the Browns are a mess right now. All right, and now moving on, we have the Dallas Cowboys. They're not very good. I mean, even when they did have Dak, they were just still not doing that good. CeeDee Lamb, honestly, this year looked extremely average. Their whole team looked extremely average. Cooper Rush, though, not a bad backup quarterback. I'm just saying, like, if Jerry Jones doesn't do something fast, if he doesn't wake up, then you guys are gonna have a long road ahead of you. All right, now moving on, we got the Broncos. Surprisingly, I will eat my words. They are a very good team. Bo Nix is a very good-looking quarterback. Cortland Sutton is honestly, I have no problem saying it. Cortland Sutton is honestly one of the most underrated wide receivers that I've ever seen. It's just like their defense was good. They had the most sacks in the league. And just if this team develops more, if you guys just have some more time to develop, you guys could be a dangerous threat for years to come. And I have no problem saying that. Like, I was so down on you guys. I thought you guys were going to go like 4-13, and you gladly made me eat my words. I respect you, Broncos. All right, now moving on, we got the Lions. Obviously, they're an elite team. It's just that if they hadn't crapped their pants in the Super Bowl, then they probably honestly would have gone to the NFC Championship. You know, it's just Jared Goff played like an MVP candidate this year. You guys have one of the most electric offenses I've ever seen. It's just that you guys had over 20 players on IR. Most of those guys came on your defense. Rest in peace, Aiden Hutchinson. But just you guys really don't have anything wrong with your team. It's just that you got to get an edge rusher. You're one of the favorites to get Myles Garrett. And you guys also got to get a replacement for Ben Johnson. So rest in peace to the Lions. Right now, moving on, we got the Packers. They're a good team. It's just Jordan Love regressed just a tad. You guys have to get a number one receiver, and that's a must. You guys have to help out your secondary, even though you do got Xavier McKinney. But Jair Alexander not looking as good as he once was. This defense is just full of injuries. Josh Jacobs looks good, though. Jordan Love looks good. Your coach is really good. It's just you guys have some obvious holes in your roster that you need to fix. All right, and now we got the Texans. Now, I know they had a down year. Stop. They're still a good team. Not as good as they were last season, but they're still a good team. CJ Stroud's still a good quarterback, and he still won a playoff game. You know, the guy can still ball out. It's just, what do you expect him to do when all your wide receivers are just injured all the time? And I don't think it was CJ Stroud's fault at all. I mean, his offensive line was abysmal this year. Honestly, I wanted to take chopstick and scoop my eyeballs out when I watched CJ Stroud's offensive line try to block. But hey, I mean, if you fix that this offseason, you guys could go 12-5, and you guys could honestly go to the AFC Championship. If all you gotta do is just fix these holes in your roster, then you're basically good to go. All right, and now we got the pain of my existence, the Indianapolis Colts. They're not very good. Anthony Richardson sucked this year. Like, he couldn't hit a 7-foot wide brick wall if it was standing only 6 feet in front of him. Like, that's how inaccurate Anthony Richardson was. He was abysmal to watch this year. Their defense was terrible. The only player they have really is just Jonathan Taylor, and that's all. I mean, their offensive line's fine, but the whole team is just so mid, and it's not even crazy. I mean, sure, they may not have had the worst record, but just playing-wise, if you watch the games, they're terrible. All right, and now we have the Jaguars. I'm sorry. You guys are so terrible. I was so up on you guys this year, and I just been made a fool of. Like, you guys are so terrible. Trevor Lawrence is honestly so terrible. Honestly, I'm starting to lose faith on Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne, terrible. Brian Thomas Jr., you're great. I love you, but just the rest of their team is just absolute dumpster fire. Their management, dumpster fire. Their coach, Doug Peterson, even I love you, dumpster fire. Just everything about the Jaguars this year was just absolutely terrible. And if you guys don't address some of these problems, it's gonna be a long off season for you guys. Now we have the fallen comrades of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to say they're a good team. They're not elite because, I mean, like, they can't really beat good teams, and they and they always cheat to win every single game, but when they go up against real good teams, the refs cannot save them and they get their asses kicked. So yeah, that's where the Chiefs belong. I'm not going to say anything more about it. Moving on, we got the Raiders. Their ass. I mean, I'm sorry. They're the worst team that I physically have ever seen play football. They look like they don't know how to play football. Their whole roster looks like they tried to create a team out of the remaining free agents in the league. I will say Brock Bowers is an elite tight end. I will say that. Jacoby Myers, not a bad receiver. I just think them as a unit, like the rest of their roster, terrible. Well, other than Max Crosby as well. Alright, now we have the Chargers. They're a good team. Justin Herbert's an elite quarterback. It's just that you guys have got to get some more receivers. I mean, Ladd McConkey's doing well, but you guys need more. Defense was great this year. Coach was great this year. It's just that Justin Herbert's got to be better in the playoffs, though. Alright, now moving on, we have the Rams. They're a great team, honestly. They're a really good team. Their offense is electric. It's just their defense gave up more points than they scored. Their D-line is not bad. Their D-line's great. They have Brandon Fisk, Byron Young, Jared Verse. That's all great. It's just that, like, you know, they got to get a secondary, man. And they got to get, like, some linebackers that actually know what they're doing. Obviously, huge respect to you guys when we played you. But, you know, just fix some holes in your defense. You guys should be good to go. And now we got the Dolphins. They weren't terrible. I mean, they were honestly really mid. And they weren't bad. It's just Tua's not a good quarterback. Mike McDaniel's not a good coach. And Tyreek Hill was just extremely average this year. I mean, he was without Tua for half of the year. But it was just, I don't know. I mean, their defense was really bad. They needed safety in the draft. Yeah, there's nothing else to say about the Dolphins. I mean, there's nothing worse than having a limited coach and a limited quarterback. We have the Vikings. They're an elite team, honestly. They're one of them. Honestly, I was really shocked to see that. They're honestly one of the best teams in the league. Well, during the regular season, postseason, they crapped their pants. But hey, I mean, hey, still, they were still good during the regular season. They still were very consistent. Sam Darnold looked like an MVP candidate too. Now we have the Patriots. Ass of the league. They were terrible. They should get Travis Hunter, or at least trade up to get Travis Hunter. Hopefully in this draft. And if they didn't have Drake May or Christian Gonzalez, I don't think I would have thought about them once this entire year. And that shouldn't be debatable. Now we have the Saints. Again, ass. I mean, it's just their ass. They're old and they're ass. I mean, they've been ass for years now. I mean, I don't know why they're stuck with Dennis Allen as their coach for so long. They're probably gonna get Kellen Moore, even though I'm hoping and praying that he stays. Because he's such a good coordinator, and if he does go to the head coach for the Saints, they will be a lot better because Kellen Moore is an offensive mastermind. And now we have the Giants, ass of the league. I mean, they're terrible. They have no quarterback. They have nobody to throw the ball. I mean, I still can't believe they went into another season with Daniel Jones as their quarterback. That's insane. I'm starting to block the way. I'm starting to block the way a little bit. Sorry about that. All right, now we have the Jets. I mean, they probably should be an ass of the league, but I'm actually going to say they're not very good. I mean, they have the talent to keep it out there. They have Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Quinnen Williams, Quincy Williams, C.J. Mosley, Tyron Smith. They have so many good weapons. They have so many of everything. It's just that, like, they fired Saleh. And ever since then, their defense has been bad too. They should have just fired Nathaniel Hackett instead. And Aaron Rodgers was the virus of that entire team, and Jets fans know it. Now we have the Steelers. They're honestly, I'm gonna say they're a mid team. They're not good. They're not elite. They're not bad though. They're just middle of the pack. And honestly, if you're asking me, I think they probably should have just stuck with Russell Wilson the entire season. If you're asking me, because Justin Fields, he was doing amazing, and then Russ came in, and then they just collapsed and got first rounded by the Ravens again. All right, now we have the 49ers. They're not very good. I mean, they had a terrible year. I mean, I know they had a lot of injuries and everything. Yeah, that all really affected stuff. But like, what about the players that were playing? Like Brock Purdy was abysmal this year. Deebo Samuel wants out. Trent Williams is going to retire soon. And 49ers, they beat us last year 42-19. I mean, sure, okay, blah, 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 you can take a victory lap on that, yeah. But at the start of the season, I was predicting their downfall. I predicted that they weren't going to be as good, and they're going to cost themselves one of these times. Well, karma, what do you know? Here we go. Just right again. Now we have the Buccaneers. They're a good team, honestly. They're a very, very capable team. Baker Mayfield played like an... I have no problem saying it. Baker Mayfield played like an MVP candidate this year. He was honestly really, really good. Obviously, he threw 41 touchdowns. I mean, I know the turnovers were a little bit much this year. He had 9 fumbles and 16 interceptions, I think it was. But, I mean, he still finished top 5 in passing yards, top 5 in touchdowns, led the NFC in passing touchdowns, obviously led the Buccaneers to another division championship, and only to get first rounded by the Commanders. But let's not go down that train. I feel like with Mike Evans retiring soon, Vita Vea, Levante David, with all those guys retiring soon, you're going to have to get some more guys to plan for the future. But overall, this Bucs team right now is really good. Now moving on, we have the Titans. They're ass. They are horrible. They're the worst team in the league. For a reason, because they have the #1 draft pick. There's nothing else to say. Now we have the Commanders. They're a good team. Honestly, you know what? I'll put them in elite. I mean, I'll put them honestly up there with those guys, because obviously this team wasn't expected to do anything. They led their team to the NFC Championship. We played them. I got so much respect for that team, even though I really should have. Jaden Daniels is a great quarterback and everything. Dan Quinn, very experienced coach, is going to lead this team to an eventual Super Bowl. I mean, maybe in the next 10 years. And now we have the Seahawks. They're mid. Geno Smith, not really looking very good. JSN, love you. You're looking good. DK Metcalf, even though kind of had a down year, but he missed some time too. It's just their defense, though. Their secondary's fine, but their D-line, they need some help. So, yeah, there are my rankings. I hope you guys liked it. And that is going to do it for my Super Bowl and end of the year tier ranking. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. And if you did, please make sure to leave a like on the video. And make sure to subscribe for the baseball content coming up. We got so much baseball content since spring training starts pretty soon. We got so much baseball content coming at you guys. So you guys can get out of here. And I see y'all guys the next time I upload. Peace out.